Adrian Blackthorn was a man who owned the world, at least, that's what the papers said, the billionaire magnate who bent industries to his will, who commanded with a glance and conquered with a signature. To his rivals, he was untouchable. To his board, he was a god. But beneath the marble mask of success was a man haunted by a ghost, the one he had buried deep inside himself. Her name was Serafina. Years ago, she had been his secret, his sin, his forbidden love. She was the daughter of his father's sworn enemy, a woman he was never supposed to touch, let alone love. Their affair had burned like wildfire, reckless and dangerous, until the world caught flame and forced them apart. Adrian had chosen his empire, she had vanished without a word, and the scars she left had never healed. It was a rainy evening when destiny collided back into his life. The Blackthorn Charity Gala was the crown jewel of the season, where power dressed in diamonds and whispered promises behind champagne flutes. Adrian stood at the center of it all, immaculate in his tailored suit, yet weary beneath the weight of endless shallow conversations. Then he saw her, Serafina. She was across the room, her figure draped in an emerald gown that clung to her with the kind of elegance that silenced entire ballrooms. Time fractured. Adrian's glass slipped slightly in his hand as his eyes locked on hers. For a moment, the noise of the gala dulled, and it was just the two of them, staring across the years and the pain and the choices that had destroyed them. He forced himself to move, each step deliberate, a king descending from his throne. When he finally stood before her, his voice was lower, rougher than he intended. Serafina. Her lips curved, but it wasn't quite a smile. Adrian. The sound of her voice was a dagger and a bomb all at once. He searched her face, finding the same fire in her eyes, though tempered now with shadows. "You came back," he said, though it sounded more like an accusation than an observation. "I didn't come back for you," she replied evenly, though her fingers trembled as she held her clutch. "I came back because destiny didn't give me a choice." His jaw clenched. He had faced hostile takeovers, financial crashes, betrayals sharp enough to kill, but nothing prepared him for the storm of emotions threatening to drown him. He leaned closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Don't lie to me. You wouldn't be here unless you had a reason." Her eyes softened, breaking for just a moment. "I had a reason once, Adrian." "A reason you chose to forget." The memories hit him like thunder. The nights spent hidden away in villas and hotels, the whispered promises of forever, the touch of her hands grounding him when the weight of his empire became unbearable. And then the end of the betrayal of their families, the ultimatum from his father, the moment he let her go. "I never forgot," he said harshly, the words escaping before he could stop them. "I've been haunted every damn day since you left." Her breath caught, and for a fleeting instant, her eyes shone with the same vulnerability she had once given him freely. But then she straightened her shoulders, her voice cool. "The past is gone, Adrian." "And the future?" A broken bar. She hesitated, her hand brushing briefly over the curve of her stomach. "The future is complicated." He froze, his eyes narrowed, his chest tightening with suspicion. "What are you saying?" But she pulled away, her mask slipping back into place as the crowd pressed around them. "Not here." The rest of the gala blurred into meaninglessness. Adrian moved through the motions, but his mind burned with questions. When at last the night ended, he found her standing alone on the balcony, the city stretching behind her like a kingdom of lights. Rain misted in the air, clinging to her hair, and she looked like the forbidden goddess he had once worshipped. "Tell me the truth," he demanded, stepping closer, his voice breaking. "Why did you come back?" She turned to him, her eyes shining with tears she could no longer hide. "Because destiny doesn't care about rules or power or the past. It only cares about what's meant to be." And Adriana broken bar. Her voice trembled. "We were always meant to collide again." Before he could speak, before he could breathe, she pressed a trembling hand to her stomach, the gesture small but undeniable. The world fell silent around him. 1,000 questions roared through his mind, but only one truth broke from his lips. raw and trembling. "It's mine." Her tears spilled freely, and she nodded once. "Yes, yours." The billionaire magnate, the untouchable man who had conquered worlds, shattered in that moment. His knees nearly buckled, his breath came ragged, and for the first time, he felt the true weight of what power could never buy: a future, a family, a second chance. He reached for her, his hand trembling as it pressed against the life growing between them. "You should have told me." "I was protecting us," she whispered. "From the wars of our families, from the empire that consumed you, from the world that would have destroyed us. I would have fought them all," he rasped, tears burning his throat. "For you." "For this." She shook her head, her tears mixing with the rain. "You weren't ready then. Maybe you're not even ready now." But Adrian knew with the certainty he had never felt before. He pulled her against him, holding her as though the world could fall apart and he wouldn't care. "I don't care about empires. I don't care about forbidden rules or enemies. All I care about is you, and our child." For the first time in years, Serafina let herself melt against him, her sobs breaking against his chest. And Adrian, the man the world called untouchable, finally allowed himself to weep. In the days that followed, the reunion was not without storms. Rivals plotted, families hissed their disapproval, and the media speculated endlessly about the return of Serafina, the Forbidden Flame. But Adrian was unmoved. He cut deals with steel in his spine, his enemies watching in shock as he turned his empire upside down to shield her and their unborn child. The billionaire magnate who once believed destiny was something he commanded learned instead that destiny had commanded him, and in surrendering to it, he found something greater than power. He found love, reborn and undeniable. When their child was born months later, Adrian held a tiny, perfect life in his arms, his eyes glistening. He looked at Serafina, exhausted but radiant, and whispered, "This is the only empire I will ever need." For the first time in his life, Adrian Blackthorn, a king of industries, feared magnate of the world, was no longer untouchable. He was a man who had collided with destiny and found that forbidden love was not forbidden at all. It was fate.